Hello again. We are going to talk about the Federal Reserve because it's Federal Reserve Day. Yay! So today was the conclusion of their third meeting of the year. Like I've told you guys before, they do have meetings 8 times throughout the year, every 6 weeks. So every time that there's a meeting, we're going to be doing a video on it so that you guys can understand what's going on with them. So let's talk about what's going on with their decision not to move the interest rate. That was the big announcement today, is that they are staying neutral on the interest rate. What does this mean and why does it matter? Why did it impact the markets? Let's talk about all of this. The markets decide to react negatively to this data. Now, normally the markets would react positively to the fact that the Federal Reserve has decided not to increase the interest rate, but they actually assumed that there was going to be a rate cut coming. Now, why did they assume this? A couple of reasons. Currently, the Federal Reserve is at 2.25% to 2.5%. Now, they work within a range because it allows them leeway to manipulate the interest rate as they need, depending on what the economy needs. When the Federal Reserve decides to move the federal funds rate, it moves this range up or down depending on if they decide to increase the rate or decrease the rate. Now, historically, they move the interest rate at 0.25% or 25 basis points each time they move it. Every once in a great while, it's not often, but does happen, where they will move it by 0.5% or 50 basis points. Now, in this case, they've just decided to stay neutral. They've decided to keep it level, and the markets were not happy about this, again, because they were assuming there was going to be interest rate cut. Let's talk about why they thought there was going to be interest rate cut. There's two reasons why they thought there was going to be interest rate cut. The first one is that the White House administration, Trump in particular, has decided to berate the Federal Reserve about their stance on the interest rates and that they had been all last year moving the interest rate up throughout 2018. There were 4 interest rate movements last year. Now, this has not made the White House happy, but the Federal Reserve doesn't answer to the White House. They technically answer to Congress, but that's more of a formality. They go in front of the Senate committee, have a hearing as a courtesy. But really, the Federal Reserve does their thing because they are in charge of one mandate, which is the stabilization of the US economy. And they have 2 levers for that, which is inflation and unemployment. But those 2 levers are to fulfill this one mandate, which again is just keeping the US economy stable. So quite frankly, they do not care what the political party is. They don't care what the political agenda is. They don't care who's asking, who's demanding, who's doing whatever. All they care is their one mandate. So although Trump has requested, very demandingly requested that the Federal Reserve cut the interest rate, they have not done so. And for good reason. And we'll go for that here in just a little bit. The other reason why the market thought, so the second reason why the market thought that the interest rate would be cut is because inflation has actually been below target levels. Now, the target percentage that the Federal Reserve would like to see inflation at is at 2%. It has been running below that as of late. And so for these reasons, the market thought the Federal Reserve would cut the rate and they were going to get this good news. Well, they think it's good news because it helps to increase lending. It helps to flow with the flow of credit. If you want to know more about this, I've done videos on it. You can go ahead and review those, and that will help you to understand this. But they were hoping to see this interest rate cut happen. So when they didn't get what they wanted, they basically were upset and the markets went downward. Okay, again, it's a good thing if the Federal Reserve is not cutting the interest rate. If they cut the interest rate, it usually means because there is a need for it, which usually means the US economy needs it, which means the US economy is having problems. So the fact that they're keeping it neutral is a good thing. This is a good sign. So why did they not decide to move this? Why were they dovish about this? They were dovish because, again, like I said before, even though inflation rate has not been at 2%, it has only been as of late that it has not been at 2%. And so that is not enough data to really justify an interest rate cut just because it hasn't hit it just as of recently. The other reason that this was good that the rate was not cut is because there are no indications in the US economy that the economy is doing bad. In fact, all the indicators are looking still really good. And so just to accommodate people's wishes, that is not what the Federal Reserve does. And so I support their decision not to cut the interest rate and also not to increase it. Now, there are a couple reasons why they decided not to increase it as well, because that, of course, is that will have a contractionary consequence to the US economy if they were to go that route. They don't feel that they need to do that at this point. There is enough pressure to slow it down, namely from oil. Oh, good old oil. It's back again. And the prices actually aren't justified, not at all. So let's talk about why it's not justified. The US reserve for oil is right now in excess. We haven't hit these levels since 2017. And so there's zero reason why the price levels are at where they are for the oil. There's geopolitical reasons for it, but there are no supply reasons for it because, again, we have excess reserves of oil. And so the oil price movement right now, it's not justified. But that's a whole nother issue. We'll talk about this in a different video. But right now, as it stands, the Federal Reserve kept the interest rate neutral. This is, again, a good thing. Now, I use the word dovish. I want to go ahead and touch upon this because these are terminologies that you will hear in the media every once in a while where they'll say, oh, so-and-so is hawkish in their position. Other board members are dovish in their position. Let's talk about this. Because we in the finance industry, I don't know why, but we love to use animal analogies. So dovish, this is the reason that we use the word or the animal dove is to basically describe its characteristics. So the dove is, of course, it's passive, it's docile, it's more kind of like relaxed and calm, like, hey, we'll just chill out and see what's going on. That is the approach that when you're saying that the Federal Reserve is dovish in their approach to the interest rate, it means that they are not aggressively going after the interest rate. They're kind of wanting to see some more information. They're going to hold back. So they're much more calm and more not necessarily calm, that's not the best word to describe it. It's that they're more patient about waiting to see more information before making a decision on the interest rates. Hawkish. Okay, so again, we use this particular animal to describe its characteristics. So a hawk is very aggressive. It's not a wait and type of see type of animal. It's very much an action animal. And so when you hear that the Federal Reserve is hawkish in its approach, or different board members are hawkish in their approach to interest rate, it means that they want to be more aggressive towards the interest rate movements. And so that's why you hear those terms. So again, as always, if you guys have any questions, put them in the comments below. This was just a quick little update about what the Federal Reserve is doing and how that impacts the market. And as always, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and I will talk with you guys later.